Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we wander softly through the velvet halls of history, uncovering the most curious and quietly absurd royal deaths ever recorded. Picture yourself beneath chandeliers heavy with candlelight. The scent of old perfume and polished wood lingers as you move past tapestries and gold-leafed doors. These walls don't echo with war cries or coronations tonight. Only the whispers of kings and queens who left this world in the most unexpected of ways. A robe caught in the wrong place, a feast that didn't sit right, a prank that turned into a legacy. These aren't just footnotes. They're moments where even the mightiest met fate with a little irony. But don't worry, tonight's path is gentle. No horror, no heartbreak. Just the quiet, surreal comedy of history reminding us that even monarchs slip on banana peels now and then. So before we follow these strange final footsteps, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you enjoy drifting into stories where the absurd and the noble quietly shake hands. Drop a comment below, where are you watching from, and what time does your royal evening begin? Now dim the lights, let your fan hum like a court musician tuning from afar. Let's begin. Of course, after hearing these anecdotes, there might be a lingering thought. If this is how grand lives can end, what hope do I have? Fear not, for it's all in good fun, and perhaps you'll find a little comfort knowing that even the mighty have their awkward moments. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as you listen, why not share where you're tuning in from? Drop your location and local time in the comments below. Imagine the diversity of time zones and places listening to the same echo of history. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. As the sands of our hourglass gently begin to shift, we start with the tale of King Henry I of England. Imagine yourself back in the early 12th century, a time of knights and castles, and a king with a rather insatiable appetite for a peculiar dish. King Henry had a known fondness for lampreys, a type of jawless fish often considered a delicacy in medieval Europe. Their eel-like appearance may not win any beauty contests today, but back then they were the stuff of culinary dreams for the English monarch. You see, Henry was a man not easily swayed by culinary caution. Despite his physician's advice to moderate his consumption of these slippery fish, King Henry indulged a little too heartily during one fateful meal. The result? His untimely demise attributed to a surfeit of lampreys. Now, while modern medicine might scratch its head over lampreys causing such harm, this was an era where tales and symptoms mingled with medieval logic. Perhaps indigestion and illness were simply cloaked under this decadent feast's narrative. As you savour the thought of such a historic meal gone wrong, consider the fringe tidbit that some historians still argue whether it was truly the lampreys or other more serious health conditions that sealed Henry's fate. Was it a king's stubbornness against medical advice, or just a historic case of unpleasant after-dinner effects? This debate adds a layer of mystery to our understanding of royal maritime dining preferences. And as you ponder this royal gastronomic misadventure, think of how times have changed. These days, could a modern Henry still enjoy his lampreys without gastric discomfort? Or worse? Perhaps, long after a dinner of utmost indulgence, you too might feel the subtle tickle of irony in your ribcage. With a shifting gaze to our next chapter, remember how even the mightiest can fall to their desires. Proof that sometimes gluttony isn't just unflattering, it's potentially perilous. The tales ahead promise just as much whimsy, with each narrative gently unfurling itself like a scroll of royal folly, flickering candlelight illuminating every quirksome detail. So, as you rest your head on your pillow tonight, let the visions of these bygone regal missteps lull you further into sleep's welcoming embrace. Keep one eye open for the details, quite like our royal protagonists failed to do. For in this procession of history's quirkiest royal ends, each chapter will reveal a new tale of aristocratic antics, equally amusing and astonishing, eagerly waiting to escort you deeper into relaxation. As the candlelight of our narrative illuminates yet another shadowy corridor of regal whimsy, let's pause to explore the peculiar circumstances surrounding the death of Queen Sunandha Kumari Ratana of Siam. the historical kingdom we now know as Thailand. Imagine, if you will, a tranquil afternoon in 1880. The warm sun cascading gently over the Chao Phraya River. The Queen, accompanied by her daughter and a retinue of attendants, embarks on a serene boat ride. A scene that might seem as peaceful as a summer's day picnic. However, tranquility can be deceptive. Queen Sunandha's barge capsizes, plunging its royal occupants into the unforgiving waters. You might think the Queen's attendants would rush to rescue her, right? But here's where the strangeness of duty defies common logic. Bound by the rigid and often ruthless laws of the day, the bystanders observed an unbreakable edict. No commoner could touch the Queen, under penalty of death. And thus, with heavy and tragic irony, they stood paralysed, watching a scene turn from serene to sorrowful, unable to defy their societal norms, even to save a life most precious. The juxtaposition is stark, tragic, even elevated now by the passage of time into a historical anecdote, tinged with surreal absurdity. As each second slipped away, so too did any chance of salvation. It's a solemn reminder of how sometimes tradition can bind one's hands, transforming loyal subjects into helpless observers. Now, you might wonder what such an edict accomplishes if it costs a life. Historians still argue whether such laws arose from respect, reverence, or the more mundane roots of control and fear, perhaps. A blend of all three. It's a question lost to history's murky depths, much like the Queen on that fateful day. Yet, there are those fringe details that intrigue. You see, in its aftermath, the Queen's death spurred eventual reform, an ironic twist where tragedy begets change. Siamese law evolved, dimming the draconian shadows where devotion forbid common sense. With a sorrowful nod to tradition's bewildering hold over life's fragility, our narrative floats forward, seamlessly guiding your thoughts like a gentle current. Imagine the Queen's story echoing softly through time, her legacy surfacing in the recounting of these events, offering a lesson in humanity and humility. As we peek into the royal annals, remember how even the powerful are but threads woven into humanity's broader tapestry. A nonchalant gust might turn the fabric, revealing another vibrant chapter, or a pale echo of lives once vivid. Yet, each narrative shares an underlying reminder. In the labyrinthine corridors of history, human lives, no matter how royal, are perceptibly delicate. Soon the flickering glow will uncover another tale, painted with the same mix of destiny, humour, and humbling wonder. As you drift along, lulled by the cadence of royal exploits, let the soft river of history carry you into deeper waves of relaxation. Close your eyes, picturing the distant whispers of ancient traditions, tangled with choice and chance. These recurring themes, unique yet universal, will accompany you further into the calm depths of slumber. You are gently rocked by these tales, unearthed and shared once more under the calming canopy of the night sky. With the gentle rhythm of history guiding us forward, let's unfurl the curious circumstances surrounding Prince Arthur Tudor, an heir whose fleeting presence in royal records left behind more questions than answers. Imagine yourself amidst the grand yet unpredictably harsh 16th century, a time when courtly life demanded wearing garments that seemed less like fashion and more like a test of endurance. It is here, in this intricately woven tapestry of courtly expectations, that the story of Prince Arthur finds its peculiar thread. Prince Arthur, the eldest son of King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York, was once the promising beacon of a united English throne. His life resonated with the prestige of future kingship, carefully crafted even down to his wardrobe, abundant and meticulously lavish. However, fate is often a cheeky puppeteer with a pen for irony. During his brief time as Prince of Wales, Arthur was prepared meticulously for his eventual ascent to the throne. Yet the universe wove a far different destiny for him, one steeped in both grandeur and unforeseen folly. In April 1502, just shy of his 16th birthday, the young prince met an untimely and somewhat mystifying end, his disappearance cloaked in the curiosities of historical debate. It is said that Arthur was enveloped by his wedding finery, garments heavy with the promise of royal duties and impending fatherhood with his bride, Catherine of Aragon. They tell of undulating silk, stiff brocade, and the incessant press of jewels. Some accounts suggest these layers played a role in his demise, hinting, whether factually or fictionally, at the cumbersome weight of expectation and cloth. If not the opulence of his attire, his other alleged culprit was the harsh English draught on his recent procession. Perhaps a touch of the cold, the murmur of the great sweating sickness, or a combination thereof, claimed him. Historians still argue over the precise cause. The medical treatments of the time, full of contradictory remedies and rudimentary wisdom, could do little more than observe his gradual decline. Amusingly enough, while modern scholars scour these fragments of history, they sometimes emphasize how close Prince Arthur's fate dances with that of his famous younger brother Henry VIII, a man whose own habits would redefine regal excess. In a whimsical slice of what if, you might consider how the world turns on the tiniest slip or button in a chain of events. In delving through the shadows of his abbreviated existence, we see Prince Arthur immortalized not through achievement, but through the tantalizing what-ifs of historical speculation, those gentle whispers and echoes of what might have been. It resonates that his wardrobe malfunction could have possibly played a role. A tangled web of cloth, symbolizing his place in history's grand storytelling. As you relax into this tapestry of fate and fabric, allow your mind to loosen its tension, a gentle unraveling akin to freeing threads from their dense weave. In this serene contemplation, Prince Arthur's story becomes another comforting nudge, reminding us of life's mysterious stitches. Rest now and let the weight of centuries settle lightly on weary eyelids, guiding you into tranquil streams where thought is unburdened and gently drifts like silk veils upon a breeze. The tales awaiting us, each woven with historical whimsy and allure, will continue to blanket the senses, easing them further into the embrace of the night. As we glide seamlessly forward through the textured corridors of time, our path leads us to an unassuming castle in the heart of France, where King Charles VIII met his rather unexpected end. Picture yourself in the late 15th century, amidst the opulence of the French court, a place where every tapestry and goblet reflects the intense prestige of a nation poised at the brink of Renaissance glory. King Charles VIII, sometimes referred to as Charles the Affable, ruled a France that was both vibrant and turbulent, a kingdom marked by conquests and the lavish trappings of power. His reign was ambitious, often bent on reclaiming long-lost territories and forging robust alliances. Yet, even a king orchestrating grand overtures of policy and warfare could not foresee a very humble executioner. A doorframe, as the story goes. The day unfurled in Amboise, April 1498. Charles, perhaps distracted by the affairs of his kingdom or simply the splendor of a planned tennis match, made his way through the corridors with great haste. But there it stood, a low lintel, the final obstacle in his journey. In what seems a tragic punchline scripted by history itself, Charles's eagerness was curtailed by that very lintel, a forceful blow knocking him back. While some accounts describe a brief recovery only to succumb later to the effects, others insist it was a rather immediate end. Either way, this mundane misstep leaves us pondering the irony woven through lives of magnitude. Think about the mildly amusing juxtaposition of a king, humbled by architecture, a structure, after all, meant to provide security and grandeur. Historians still argue whether poor lighting, a lapse in concentration, or merely misjudged height led to his abrupt encounter with the timber adversary above his brow. This peculiar twist of fate declared once again, in a whisper to the ages, the fragility of it all. In the labyrinthine halls of history, such anticlimactic tales serve as potent reminders. Despite titles and lineage, we are all mere actors, subject to the whims of chance and the tacit laws of comedy that hume slyly behind mortal's pomp. The fringe detail here? Charles's demise also incidentally cemented the architectural trend of the basket handle arch, as builders and royals alike wished to avoid similar mishaps. It is a curious unintended legacy of prevention bequeathed by one prince's moment of misfortune. Cast yourself into this narrative with ease. A tale like Charles's, both magnificent and mundane, offers a charming mix of amusement and reflection. In this peculiar stage play of epochs gone by, we witness how the fabric of history is sewn with the most unexpectedly funny threads. Let your thoughts lounge leisurely in this space, on the cusp of dreams where logic entwines with whimsy, before drifting past velvet curtains into the next royal act. While you ease into the embrace of sleep, remember that even the grandiose are sometimes subject to the unyielding embrace of the most ordinary corners of existence. The paradox of history is that, in our shared humanity, the simplest stumbles become the most memorable stories. Feel the pillow beneath your head, and allow the richness of this narrative to lull you deeper into relaxation. More tales await, promising to soothe and fascinate as they softly weave the narratives of old amidst the serene murmur of night. We transition now to the historical landscape of sunny Greece, where the beauty of the Mediterranean mingles seamlessly with legends of old. It's the early 20th century, and high upon the throne sits King Alexander of Greece, a man whose reign was short but undeniably entangled with perhaps the most unusual of adversaries, a pet monkey. Imagine the palace grounds, a hub of political intrigue and national pride, its walls echoing with the sounds of history and the occasional chatter of small, furry residents. King Alexander, ascending to the throne as World War I cast its long shadows, faced a kingdom both connected and torn between alliances. Despite these worldly tribulations, it was an unexpected encounter during an otherwise ordinary day that sealed his fate in October 1920. Imagine Alexander walking through the royal gardens, the air fragrant with citrus and history, the sun's warmth like a gentle embrace. A place of solace, the gardens offered a retreat from royal burdens. But on this fateful day an altercation arose, not with a foreign adversary or political foe, but with a pet monkey, a most unlikely nemesis in any king's dossier. Accounts recount that while attempting to break up a scuffle between his dog and the monkey, Alexander was bitten not once, but twice. At the time, such a nibble seemed to be more of an annoyance than fatal, yet nature's irony had only just awoken. The bites became infected due to modern medicine's absence and unfortunate choices regarding medical interventions. Despite initial treatment attempts, his condition deteriorated rapidly. King Alexander succumbed to sepsis a few weeks later, a regal life brought low not by grand battles or subterfuge, but by a creature of mere pounds. The absurdity rings clear, a monkey's bite turning the course of a nation's history. Historians still argue whether Alexander's death, and the subsequent national reflections and policies it inspired, were truly fated. Some posit that had he not intervened, the trajectory of Greece would have been drastically different, with no such post-mortem political shifts. And in that reflective uncertainty lies a testament to history's chaotic threads. The ripples wrought by such an amusing yet tragic encounter. There's a quirky tidbit that emerges from this tale as well, how it eventually impacted the royal succession and shifted alliances, further intertwining personal calamity with the wider tapestry of national consequence. The mongoose-like triviality of a pet monkey emphasized, dramatically, how the mightiest could be reduced to whispers by the most minute of furies. Under the surface of this tale glimmers a gentle chuckle, how life's simplest nuances can wield the most outsized influences. This sobering yet chucklesome reminder gently reminds us, especially as our eyes grow heavy, that life's absurdities spare none, royalty included. You find yourself smiling despite the irony, as you delve deeper into this narrative labyrinth, whose echoes fade like soft footsteps down marbled halls. The allure of history conjures an understanding that all lives, regal or humble, are touched by life's whimsical hand. So, as you settle into the warmth of your blankets, let not only the tales of old kings, but the pervasive sentiment of life's mystery carry you gracefully towards sleep. The narratives continue, woven with a comforting mix of amusement and wonderment, each story softly urging you further into the realm of dreams, where the unexpected morphs into the delightful. As we unveil yet another chapter from the embellished scrolls of history's eccentricities, allow me to guide you to England, where the echoes of medieval whispers introduce us to King Edward II. His reign was marked by controversy and conflict, but today we embark on a far more peculiar anecdote that has sparked both intrigue and skepticism throughout the annals of time. Edward II, seated on the throne during the early 14th century, is often depicted as a monarch whose reign was as tumultuous as the stormy seas surrounding his country. He was a king embroiled in power struggles with his barons, and he fostered a deep affinity for certain favourites, which led to his capture and unfortunate deposition. Yet his demise is shrouded in a bizarre narrative featuring the most peculiar of accessories, a red-hot poker. Now, cast yourself back to Berkeley Castle, enveloped in the chill of a medieval fall, and hear the crackling hearth and muted voices echo off the stone-clad walls. There, it's whispered that Edward met his end following imprisonment, a victim of political machinations. The tale that emerges is not simply one of loss, but of a scandalous end purportedly involving said fiery implement, inspirited perhaps by a less-than-friendly rivalry and the heinous creativity it spawned. Was Edward's manner of death purely symbolic, an embellished tale made to discredit him further in the eyes of history? Historians still argue whether the story holds truth or was cleverly contrived by his adversaries to paint a shocking picture of demise that would endure through the ages. Deception often mingles with history, woven seamlessly like the colourful threads in the court's tapestries. Delve deeper, and you'll find that the poker story might indeed be symbolic, a representation of punitive measures against a king seen as wayward. The quirks of the circumstance, potentially concocted by monkish scribes or those seeking to belittle the monarchy's sanctity, provide an eerily evocative sensation, blending fact with fiction. Such tales demonstrate how medieval lore possesses an uncanny ability to capture the imagination. Dancing between the absurd and the sinister, we're left pondering the true fate of Edward, a monarch who, no matter how clouded by propaganda, remains a fascinating character within England's richly woven historical fabric. A quirky tidbit emerges. Some fringe interpretations even hint at him surviving, escaping the grisly end attributed to him, only to live out his days incognito. This adds further layers to an already puzzling picture, suggesting that the whimsical thread of survival might run deeper than one could initially suspect. As you contemplate the possibility, remain aware of the soft echoes of tales past as they guide your imagination. Each story glimmers past, nudging you further into relaxation. It might well be that, like the tapestry of Edward's life, your dreams will soon unfurl their own mystical narratives, serenely intertwined with the whispers of ancient lore. In the warmth of your cocoon, allow this blend of myth and history to soothe your mind. As the night deepens outside your window, each tale will continue to stroke the fringes of sleep, eventually guiding you through history's serene corridors, where your own dreams await, spun with the quiet mystery and intrigue of the ages. As our journey through history's whimsical corridors continues, we now turn our attention to a royal demise that combines youthful enthusiasm and an unfortunate encounter. Allow me to draw you into 18th century England, a place awash with the vigour of Enlightenment thinking, where Prince Frederick, Prince of Wales, the heir apparent to King George II, lived a life both lavish and, ultimately, humorously tragic. As the eldest son of George II, Frederick was poised not just to inherit the crown, but also to provide entertainment for the court, given his fondness for theatrical flair. Known for his charisma and playful demeanour, Frederick spent much of his time indulging in leisure pursuits, one of which included the quintessential English sport of cricket, a nod to both tradition and gentlemanly rivalry. Imagine, then, a warm afternoon in 1751, at Leicester House, where the prince resided. The gently swaying trees and the open laughter of courtiers provided the backdrop to an unbecoming event. Some tales voice the cricket ball as the culprit, struck with great force and equally poor luck. But it is the second, more peculiar account of Frederick's demise that captures the imagination. A breezy story involving peaches and a lasting discomfort. Legend has it that after enjoying an afternoon game of cricket, the prince indulged heartily in a feast, perhaps driven to satisfy a post-match appetite. This banquet, rich with ripe fruits and delectables, reportedly included an excessive consumption of peaches. Here lies the interesting twist. Some suggest that the joy of feasting turned sour, with Frederick later succumbing to complications intensified by previous weak health. Now, while it's decidedly unlikely a mere peach was the fatal blow, the knowledge that overindulgence contributed to his death is curiously absorbing. Historians still argue whether it was truly peaches, some internal ailment, or perhaps a lung infection that sealed his fate. Such debates infuse the story with an engaging air of mystery. In pondering this princely pursuit of leisure and luscious harvests, one might imagine life's simple pleasures taking an unexpected turn, wrapped snugly in layers of jest and irony. The fate of Frederick, both comical and tragic, reinforces that sense of youthful mirth that can sometimes backfire spectacularly. An intriguing tidbit nestled within this narrative is how Frederick's premature death reshaped the royal line. It was his son who ultimately became King George III, a monarch whose reign famously intersected with the American Revolution, a poignant reminder of how one man's untimely folly could ripple through the chapters of history. As you relax further into this soothing caress of narrative, Consider how the subtleties of chance and choice intertwine with the ambitions of royals, those whose lives, while gilded, are never immune to life's jocular whims. As velvet whispers encourage the closeness of sleep, let these stories gently guide your thoughts. Drawing upon the tendrils of the past to fan your dreams' glowing embers, surrender your senses to this calming tide of narrative rhythm, composed of both the mundane and the marvellous. Dream of cricket fields, peach flavours, and a history humming softly in the background, words lulling you deeper into tranquil repose, where each new tale drowsily anticipates unfurling into the warm strata of tranquillity that is serenely waiting for you. Venturing onwards through time's gentle tapestry, allow me to guide you to a tale that features a king with aspirations not anchored solely to the earth, but soaring toward the heavens. Imagine the court of King Philipp of France, a land draped in chivalry and tradition, where the scent of lavender wafts through corridor windows and inspiration is often paired with innovation or sometimes with misadventure. Philip, known to history as King Philip VI, like many a monarch, sought ways to transcend earthly bounds, his eyes cast skyward toward novel pursuits. This is where our story swoops in with a beguiling mélange of excitement, daring, and aviation happenstance. You see, in an age when balloon flights were all the rage among Europe's elite, this king, too, caught a whiff of adventure beyond the confines of terra firma. Picture the scene: a French court fascinated by the burgeoning magic of hot air balloons, a marvel that danced between the realms of dream and scientific endeavour, ushered onward by the loftiest of ambitions. King Philip, eyeing the skies with the eagerness of youth and the curiosity of a leader, decided he must experience such wonders firsthand. There, amidst the fanfare and murmur of anticipation, he approached his basket, a trusty steed not of earth, but of air. Yet fate always, the cheeky maestro had orchestrated a different vision. Flight, while undeniably captivating, was still in its infancy, a juvenile endeavour subject to the wayward whims of weather and construction. The tale tells of a balloon, perhaps its construction hastily rushed or mischievously swayed by the slightest gust, leading to quite the notorious misadventure, an aspiring king not climbing to new heights, but instead bound to ground in humble realization. Historians still argue over the exactness of the event, whether Philip himself was the protagonist, or if the narrative grew from court jesters' anecdotes with many images turned legend by bards seeking an entertaining tale. Regardless, the symbolism floats clear, a whimsical reminder of humanity's reach sometimes exceeding its grasp. In this peculiar narrative lies the compelling human desire to transcend, bundled irrevocably with the humour found in missteps. Such folly is timeless, blurring boundaries between exploration and ground. As a quirky tidbit, this era inspired even more of aviation's future tinkerers, their dreams lifting them above such notorious blunders. One can almost hear the rippling laughter of an erstwhile court echo through time, its humorous undertone kindling a spirit of adventure in later generations. Indulge in this tale of ambition and amusement, allowing it to gently cradle your thoughts with an embrace as light as the air Philip longed to master. You are invited to delight in the whimsicality of human endeavours. Dreams ballooned aloft by whimsy, lulled downward by their weight, yet never wholly dispelled. As the softness of evening kisses the horizon and dreams await behind closed eyelids, let the notion of balloons and bravery lead you toward the subtle boundaries of sleep. It captures the same airy lightness infused with tranquility, which will guide you deeper into restful journeys, as refreshing as floating clouds. Each gentle gust of narrative nudges you a step closer to the serene landscapes of dreams where the cradle of slumber awaits, buoyed by the gentle tides of history and imagination. As the night's gentle embrace continues, we quietly shift our focus to one of history's most enigmatic and storied figures, Cleopatra, the alluring and formidable Queen of the Nile. In a land steeped in mystery and legend, her life and death have captured imaginations for centuries, filled with grandeur, politics, and a death as storied as her reign. Picture yourself in ancient Egypt, the twilight sky painted with hues of saffron and indigo as it kisses the iconic silhouette of pyramids and palm-fringed temples. Cleopatra VII, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom, stands atop the pinnacle of power. Her alliances and liaisons with Rome have secured her place in history as both a cunning strategist and a charismatic leader. Yet it is Cleopatra's demise that engendered drama fit for both tragedy and intrigue. The legend tells of her final act taking place within a chamber of opulence, permeated by the scent of exotic oils and the subtle whisper of linen curtains. With the echoes of defeat looming at the hands of Octavian, later known as Augustus, the fate of Cleopatra was to ensure her legacy unbowed by her conquerors. The tale, as told from antiquity to modern portrayals, spins an unforgettable narrative. Cleopatra, alongside her royal finery, employs a snake and asp as the instrument of her death, seeking to fashion an ending intertwined with both dignity and theatrical flair. This image of the serpent concealed within a basket of figs delivering venomous finality famously concludes one of history's grandest tapestries. While the story of the asp has decorated countless stories and films, historians still argue over its accuracy. Was it truly the serpent's bite, or a subtler means perhaps poison delivered not with fangs, but via a more mundane yet lethal substance? Some whispers suggest there may have been alternative motives or methods, lost amidst the sands of time. In this mesmerizing yet puzzling end lies Cleopatra's determination to craft her narrative, a poignant assertion against a triumph that passed her by. The truth, fragmentary and tantalizing, remains locked in scholarly debate, blending wisps of myth, history, and creative retelling into an enigmatic finish. An intriguing, albeit fringe tidbit suggests that despite her death, Cleopatra's legacy possessed lingering geopolitical ripple effect. Her passing marked profound shifts within Rome itself, lining the narrative fibre with further tales of influence both political and familial. As you contemplate Cleopatra's storied departure, allow yourself to float down the stream of her tale, a stream woven with threads of romance, enigma, and elegance. Her serene repose amid chaotic times brings you closer to the comfort of your own quiet corner, where dreams may gently unfurl their own sagas of art and adventure. Let the whispers of the Nile guide you deeper into repose, each note in the ancient song soothingly promising that the wonders and secrets of the past rest in harmony beneath the veil of tranquil night. In the presence of such history, allow your senses to drift, gently buoyed by Cleopatra's compelling allure, coaxing you tenderly towards soft slumber's embrace. Through the misty corridors of time, we now find ourselves journeying to ancient China, where Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, sought not just power on earth but an elusive eternity. Picture the sweeping plains and lush mountains of ancient China during the late 3rd century BCE, where the legendary Emperor Qin Shi Huang embarked on grand projects, unifying vast lands and instigating painstaking endeavors like the Great Wall, a testament to his robust vision. This emperor's ambition wasn't confined merely to the earthly realm. Driven by a fervent desire for immortality, Qin Shi Huang's curiosity extended to the alchemical arts, an attempt to defy the natural course of life and step ambitiously into the realm of the divine. His court, bustling with alchemists eager to both curry favor and explore mystical secrets, transformed the pursuit of eternal life into a duty of statecraft. Enter Mercury, a whimsical element believed by some to hold the key to everlasting life, yet lurking with potent, lethal toxicity. The tale recounts Qin Shi Huang consuming concoctions containing mercury, rich with alchemical promise yet poor in what we recognize today as 21st century health wisdom. Each sip was a paradox, affirming vitality while undercutting it, a historical nod to how esoteric curiosity can both illuminate and obscure. The effects, as history bears silently, led not to divinity, but to denouement. Qin Shi Huang's quest for life's endlessness, propelling him with unfortunate haste into history's hands, those same hands that would guide his kingdom beyond mortal reach. The emperor's death became intricately tied to his quest, suggesting an irony as profound as it is universal. Historians still argue over the intricacies of his final days, whether Mercury played the leading role, and speculate on other potential plots or ailments subtly interwoven into the narrative tapestry. There's an aura around Qin Shi Huang's tomb itself, reportedly teeming with treacherous mercury rivers that adds a sheen of dark enchantment to his story. A quirky tidbit shines through, a legacy housed within his awe-inspiring terracotta army, discovered millennia later, guarding the emperor's mausoleum in silence, yet loquacious with artistic purpose. It is almost as if they too stand vigil over secrets that stretch beyond time. mute sentinels to the emperor's dreams of eternity. Caught in the gentle weave of the emperor's yearnings, allow your thoughts to drift effortlessly over China's ancient landscapes, through the march of clay soldiers and golden-browed alchemists. Embrace this narrative, a gentle reminder that life's drive for immortality often finds solace in its art, unwrapping endless inspiration amid history's profound lyrics. As dusk enshrouds your senses, these tales will lead you with a tender hand, dipping into narratives as rich as night itself, deeper into the hushed chorus of eras past, where every note of Qin Shi Huang's legend hums the timeless refrain of human aspiration and earthly sigh. So, rest and dream, carried softly on the currents of time, where stories settle gently around you like the whisper of 1,000 sage leaves, weaving a comfy cocoon through which sleep finds its way, as lasting as any emperor's dream. As we ease further through the vast corridors of history, let's gently unfurl the tale of St. Lawrence, the cheery Roman martyr whose tale combines elements of tragic resolve and unexpected humour. Transport yourself to the heart of ancient Rome, amidst the grandeur of the Roman Empire in the 3rd century AD, where the weight of stone and the expanse of empire create an ever-present sense of both majesty and shadow. St. Lawrence, one of the 7 deacons of Rome tasked with managing the church's treasures and assisting the poor, found himself at a crossroads during a period of intense persecution under Emperor Valerian. His role, crucial yet dangerous, entwined him with the burgeoning intrigue of a church that stood resilient against imperial authority. When the edict came for the execution of Christian clergy, Lawrence's sardonic wit etched his place into the annals of history. Offered a chance to escape, he instead presented the empire's officials with the true treasures of the church, the poor and downtrodden, prompting outrage where he, perhaps cheekily understanding the inevitable, accepted his fate with profound equanimity. Now comes the moment of both gravity and levity. The legend is retold that during his execution by being roasted on a gridiron, Lawrence called out with unexpected cheer to his captors, uttering words vibrant with biting humour, "Turn me over! I'm done on this side!" Such words not only defied his oppressors, but, through the pantheon of martyred saints, led to him being enshrined as a patron of, and this is where it gets delightfully ironic, cooks and chefs, infusing history with its savoury whisper of rueful irony. Whether this story is precisely factual or embroidered through time's embellishments, historians still argue, adding depth to Lawrence's legendary courage amid adversity. It colours Salvation's tapestry with a unique blend of humour, bravery, and an iconoclast's defiance. A quirky tidbit lingers behind the heavier brushstrokes. His story transcends into countless art portrayals, inspiring medieval and Renaissance artists who depicted this scene often with a subtle smile, reflecting on the dual nature of faith and folly through strokes of oil and gold leaf. The narrative invites you to bask in both historical insight and delightful surprise, where even the most dire of circumstances can be met with spirit and humour. As you ponder St. Lawrence's words, they weave a softly rippling path through your thoughts, inviting you to consider life's challenges with a lightness of heart. Cocooned in the warmth of what you've heard, imagine the quiet resilience of St. Lawrence, resting like a serene shore, where hope balances precariously yet beautifully with life's unknowns. Nurtured by history's embrace, let your sense of time's continuity become the lullaby that cradles you to sleep. The tales yet to unfold promise the same delicate piquancy of intrigue as dusk deepens and night's gentle stories envelop you further. In the realm of historical dreams, such tender narratives will lead you, weaving gently through the valleys of sleep with soothing grace, until you find repose in the silken shadows of the night. Through the dimly lit corridors of history, we next find ourselves confronting the curious circumstances of a king finding himself in an unexpectedly undignified situation. Let us venture into the regal life of King George II of Great Britain, a monarch not unlike his contemporaries in his pursuit of glory, yet whose final chapter is painted with a comedic twist far from the battlefield or throne. Imagine 18th century England, a place where powdered wigs, grandiose architecture, and the burgeoning age of enlightenment coalesce with the daily rhythms of court life. King George II, known to his subjects as much for his military engagements as for his fiery temper, nonetheless cherished his routine above all. A routine that would foreshadow his end. On the morning of October 25, 1760, King George, in the familiar comfort of Kensington Palace, proceeded with his daily ritual with mechanical devotion. He begins his day with the predictable, strolling through his manicured gardens and retiring with a measure of satisfaction to his usual dressing chambers. This consistency, though, would be his undoing, as myth and mirth converge on the tale of his passing. Historians tell us that, during one of these mornings, George retreated to his privy essentio, essentially a private toilet, seeking solitude away from courtly demands. It was here, perched amidst the commonplace, that fate delivered its final coup de satre, when unexpectedly the king collapsed, reportedly caused by an aortic dissection. The humorously mundane setting, starkly contrasting against history's grander expectations. While King George's demise is not without hints of gallows humour, there's an oddity inherent in such an end for a man accustomed to commanding armies. Some historical accounts add lighter notes. Whispers turned into cheeky anecdotes through the ages. Originally seen as scandals, they softened into iconic tales of humanity's inherent fragility. Historians still debate the details surrounding King George II's last moment, whether it was the long-standing fears about his health coming true, or simply the natural consequence of human life, underscoring life's unpredictable cadence. This amusing yet sombre vignette serves as a reminder of how the humblest of places might unfurl the most astounding departures, claiming lives regardless of rank or stature. These events left behind an echo, laughter entwined with pathos, further painting George's reign with an image of ordinary humanity lying beneath the regal veneer. There's something charmingly relatable about the end even a monarch cannot escape. A royal life bookended not by battles or treaties, but by this soft irony of place. A quirky tidbit from this tale notes that George II holds the record as the last British monarch born outside of Great Britain, adding yet another layer to his larger-than-life narrative that straddled borders and tales of divergence. As you gently unwind into the fabric of night, allow King George's story to beckon you further into historical insight, where the intersections of humour and dignity dance lightly through your thoughts. Picture the gentle glow of candlelight flickering upon palace walls, the constant, comforting backdrop to the unexpected narratives of those who walked before you. In these moments, feel the embrace of time's continuum, weaving centuries of story into the soft tapestry of your dreams. As sleep sways around you like an enfolding shroud, let the quietude of historical echoes carry you further, softly adrift upon the serene sea of slumbers, entwined with gentle mystery and calm. Our journey now takes us to the sun-soaked country of Thailand, where once more the waters of history ripple with an unsettling yet enthralling tale. We revisit the story of Princess Sunandha Kumari Ratana, a narrative almost too unique to pass over in a single mention. This time, we explore a different facet of her tale, weaving through the oddities that marked a tragic day on the Chao Phraya River. It's the late 19th century, and the Kingdom of Siam is a tableau of rich traditions and emerging modernity. Princess Sunandha, cherished daughter of King Rama V, found herself a pivotal figure whose life and untimely end were both remarkable and reflective of the era's social fabric. Imagine yourself along the riverbanks on that ill-fated day in 1880, where the breeze carries faint whispers of delight and festivity in the air. A royal excursion takes place, a leisurely boat ride interrupted by the merciless capriciousness of the waters. Amidst the merriment, tragedy strikes unexpectedly. The princess's boat capsizes, plunging Sunandha and her daughter into the river's depths. Now, here's where this tragic tale finds an unusual and extremely impactful twist. The royal barge quickly becomes a scene of helplessness, yet not on account of the onlookers' unwillingness, but bound by law, the inviolable edicts preventing any commoner from touching royal skin. Their presence merely garners as an audience to impending disaster, frozen not by the coldness of water, but by the severity of consequence. Frustration mixes with heartache, for amongst those present an understanding resonates. What ought to have been a moment of rescue became a tableau of inaction dictated by ironclad rules of untouchable royalty. It's this paradox with its tragic unfolding that lingers, offering poignant reflection on human helplessness and the unquestioned adherence to societal norms. In the aftermath, historians still discuss the ironies of duty entwined with devotion despite the devastating circumstances. The tragedy catalyzed much-needed institutional changes, questioning and eventually changing similar protocols, shaping how future generations would reconcile tradition with humanity. One fringe detail from the era tells how this event, couched in sorrow, sparked amendments to royal protocol, loosening the rigidity around royalty's untouchable persona, a transformation seeded in heartbreak, yet yielding functionality and progress. Envision the gentle turbulence of a rushing river, carrying this message through time. An emblematic reminder of how moments of calamity sometimes stir the waters of change more effectively than stillness ever could. In the silence after, hear the soft rustle of robes and the quiet reflection of a nation, absorbing lessons wrapped in the shimmering folds of loss and legacy. With this tale nestled in your mind, let the current of sleep find its way softly, cradling you upon the waves of tranquil understanding. Each story you embrace leaves a gentle imprint, reflecting both the whimsy and gravity of those who walked before you. Feel your mind settle like silt upon the riverbed, beneath water clear with reflection and time's gentle flow, where dreams softly await, shimmering just beneath the surface of consciousness. Allow the rhythm of these narratives to guide you deeper into the soothing embrace of night, carrying you past the echoes of history to where sleep, rich with stories yet untold, awaits your arrival. Drifting gracefully onward, our next stop is the shores of Scotland, where a tale unfolds that captures both Viking valor and unexpected irony. We turn our thoughts to Sigurd Eysteinsson, Earl of Orkney, whose legacy is immortalized not by his conquests alone, but by how he succumbed to the odd hand of fate. Picture yourself in the wild, rugged expanses of 9th century Scotland, a land where fierce battles and Norse sagas intermingle with lush, windswept landscapes. Sigurd, a robust figure in the Viking Age, was a man revered for his formidable presence and impressive victories, claiming territories with a tenacity known to few. Yet, amid his illustrious pursuits, irony and destiny conspired, crafting an ending most unexpected. Sigurd's tale of conquest features a particularly notable event, a battle against Mal-Brigtooth the Buck-Toothed, a local ruler with whom he waged fierce contention. In triumph, Sigurd's forces prevailed, and as a symbol of victory and perhaps a shade of Norse bravado, he claimed Mal-Brigtooth's decapitated head as a trophy, attaching it to his saddle for the ride home. Yet here the tale takes its curious turn. As Sigurd rode victoriously onward, legend tells us that the head jostled with every canter and trot. There, a sole tooth compelled Mal-Brigtooth to a final act posthumous and pointed. Each bounce and jolt caused the tooth to graze Sigurd's leg, and as the fates would have it, this abrasion led to an infection. In a poetic irony only time and tragedy could construct, the imposing Earl met his demise from this subtle injury, succumbing not to sword or strategy, but to an unanticipated twist of circumstances. Was this merited by hubris or simply the mischievous play of nature? Historians still argue. But the saga remains a compelling chapter in the Viking legendarium. Such peculiarities show us with a fringe quirkiness that in the chaos of conquest, the smallest elements, the buck-toothed grin of a fallen foe, can shift the tide of destiny itself. Sigurd's story, therefore, dissolves into the misty air of Scotland as an emblem of hubris, whittled by fortune's smallest grasp. Now, as you ponder this paradox woven from Viking vigour and visceral imagery, embrace the whimsy of life's unforeseen entanglement. Let the cool, bracing air of supposedly invincible landscapes guide you deeper within yourself, cradled in history's embrace, where every tale spins comfort and gentle comedy. In the comforting silence, allow the endless rhythms of change, the ebb and flow of life's uncertain steps, carry you towards the humming promise of dreams. These stories, knitted tightly by the hands of time, softly remind you that life, in all its grandeur and gentility, is often a dance dictated by delicate moments. As you cozy into the embrace of night, let Sigurd's legacy remind you that not all victories are throned by triumph, and not all defeats herald sorrow. Drift further into restful slumber, where the whispers of these ancient tales enfold you with serene imaginings beneath constellations as alive and mysterious as a Viking sky. Our voyage through the annals of regal intrigue next drifts to the Russian Empire, where the enigma surrounding Tsar Alexander I presents a mystery wrapped in the cold embrace of conspiracy and speculation. It is a tale that teases each whisper with the promise of revelation, cloaking itself in one of history's most intriguing vanishing acts. Set your thoughts to the early 19th century, where the vastness of the Russian landscape is mirrored by the expansive drama of its court. Alexander I, Emperor of Russia, was a figure of complexity, embroiled in the Napoleonic Wars and known for his shifting political ideologies. His reign was a tapestry woven from reformist ambitions and the shadows of secrecy. In 1825, the Tsar's health reportedly waned, overtaken by a sudden bout of fever. Official accounts declared his passing in the provincial town of Taganrog, far from the opulent clutches of yet. Almost immediately, whispers drifted through the air like an autumn fog. Did Alexander truly succumb to illness, or were there deeper layers to his story? You see, historians still argue about the peculiar circumstances surrounding Alexander's death. A strand of belief holds that the Tsar, disillusioned by the burdens of rule and personal turmoil, orchestrated his own disappearance, shedding imperial robes for the anonymity of obscurity. The most captivating thread in this mysterious weave is that Alexander may have assumed the identity of a monk named Fyodor Kuzmich, purportedly living out his days in Siberian solitude. This figure, arriving mysteriously in the late 1830s, possessed an uncanny familiarity with Russian court life and extraordinary knowledge of state affairs, spurring wistful speculation across the empire. While historical debates swirl like the mist over Russian fields, this possibility endures as a charming ghost story of royal intrigue. The legacy of Alexander I is thereby suspended in this curious balance between truth and fable, the passage of time imbuing his departure with even greater allure. Amongst these layers, an intriguing detail emerges in the form of Kuzmich's possessions, a peculiar amalgamation of keepsakes seemingly out of place yet suggestive of deeper truths that silently reinforce the theories of his origins. Let these shadows of intrigue guide your thoughts, painting your imagination with the thrill of detective stories, of lives lived and lives lost in the folds of history's cloak. The story of Alexander I is not merely a question of what happened, but an exploration of human nature and the irresistibly fascinating turns it can take. So as you rest your head, let this unfurling tale of stealth and transformation cradle you into the night's softest embrace. Dream of Siberian snows, where the whispering winds may just carry the remnants of a Tsar's quiet escape. Let sleep gently beckon to you, entwined with legends that dance and weave through the starry tapestry above, lulling you peacefully into restful repose. The cadence of these stories assures that, like the river's gentle flow, truth and imagination will continue to braid themselves artfully together, leading you further into that tranquil dreamscape, lulled by mystery and warmed by the bright glow of curiosity fulfilled. This time our path sweeps us toward the timeless city of Baghdad, where historical currents converged in a dramatic, if unsettling narrative of regal demise. Journey with me to the 13th century, a time of intellectual brilliance and stark devastation, as we unravel the tale of Caliph Al-Musta'sim at the fall of the illustrious Abbasid Empire. Nestled in the heart of this bustling city, Baghdad was a beacon of scholarship and culture, its grand mosque and house of wisdom drawing scholars from across the globe. Al-Musta'sim, the last Abbasid Caliph to preside over this golden age, found himself embroiled in a catastrophic chain of events as the Mongol hordes under Hulagu Khan drew ever closer. Amidst these rising tensions, Baghdad faced unimaginable turmoil, a city under siege, grappling with both the anxiety of impending loss and the hope of preserving historical grandeur. Al-Musta'sim, though a potentate of erudition, was caught in the harsh web of political naivety, unable to foresee the full gravity of the Mongol threat, despite warnings. The legend recounts the climactic fall of Baghdad in 1258, a date marked both by the storming of Mongol forces and the unsettling crescendo leading to Al-Musta'sim's peculiar demise. Rather than shedding blood, Hulagu's method of execution was chillingly symbolic. Al-Musta'sim was wrapped in a carpet and trampled under the hooves of Mongol horses, allegedly to avoid spilling royal blood on the earth, which was considered sacrilegious. This grim choreography wove both pragmatic disdain and ritualistic irony into the final act of the Caliph. Historians still argue about the finer nuances of this account, contemplating whether this was indeed a historic literalism or a metaphor born of later chronicles, each hoofbeat retracing its origin in dusty tomes and the whispers of medieval Islamic chroniclers. From the fringes of this tale emerges a poignant tidbit: the destruction of the House of Wisdom and its priceless manuscripts, flung into the Tigris River, reportedly coloured its waters ink-back, a potent symbol of an era's intellectual dissolve beneath the tide of conquest. Yet amid this bleakness, our journey through the tale echoes with a quiet dignity, narratives of opulence and wisdom meeting their tangible finale, painting sketches of a tapestry interwoven with power, expectation, and inescapable history. It speaks to the human heart's resilience amid such passages, reminding us of our collective ability to rebuild, reimagine, and rise anew from the ashes. Allow this tale, rich with symmetry and somber reflection, to glide into your consciousness, weaving shards of what once was with what continues to be. In the calm progression of night, let these impressions guide you through your own storied landscape of dreams, where echoes of time's tapestry unfold in whispered symphonies. With the stars like ancient tales weaved into the fabric of the sky, rest now, and let the harmony of these resounding memories carry you softly into the night. The quiet hum of history awaits to enwrap you further in its gentle embrace, leading you into the comfort of slumber, where dreams nestle amid history's reflective hues. Venturing forward across the tides of time, our narrative now sweeps into the heart of a Spanish royal entanglement, where Crown Prince Philip found himself at the periphery of an unfortunate and perplexing tale. As historical whispers meet a cannon's distant roar, let us uncover the curious chapter entwining royalty and artillery. Picture Spain during the 16th century, a land resonant with the echoes of exploration and empire, where the royal court was a crucible of both grandeur and intricate manoeuvring. Crown Prince Philip, poised amid this swirling pageantry, was no stranger to the complex dynamics of power and influence that defined his world. Destined for greatness, his life intersected with an era characterized by bold adventures and equally bold inventions. Yet, amid this tapestry of ambition and legacy, lies an account as peculiar as profound. The tale unfurls one day when a cannon, the symbol of evolving warfare and royal might, ventured beyond its intended narrative, reaching into the life of the prince. Then, as now, technology was as unpredictable as it was transformative. The legend tells us that during one grand display, artillery stood poised to articulate Spain's military strength and sophistication. Alas, whether through human oversight or mechanical quirk, a cannon misfired, tragically taking the life of an unfortunate marching band member, someone less chosen than chance's unwitting handmaiden in life's grand ledger. While not directly claiming Prince Philip, this disaster became an illustrative fringe detail of ceremonial artillery gone awry, a stark reminder that progress, be it in power or engineering, carried risks that frequently ran parallel to intentions. Historians still argue whether it was negligence, or indeed the cannon's fault, that led to such a momentous yet sombre ripple across the court's proceedings. A particularly intriguing afterthought of this tale lingers in the lessons learned in its wake, influencing future royal protocols around artillery, a testament to how one explosive incident could mould broader outcomes in courtly prudence and strategy. Draw comfort in the peculiar intersection between residual chaos and burgeoning foresight, reflecting on the elaborate dance between progress and precaution. It is a dance the world continues to perform across stages both grand and everyday, marked by a rhythm seldom anticipated, yet familiar all the same. As you rest your head softly upon the pillow, allow the convergence of invention's ambition and unintended consequence to weave a gentle lullaby through your thoughts. Walk with the gentle echoes of this Spanish tale in your dreams, through colonnades resonant with ceremonial fanfare and the lingering reverberations of a world forever in flux. Feel the warmth of historical reflection cocoon you, each heartbeat a melodic resonance of stories past. Under the night's embrace, let the narrative gently hold you, carrying you further into a slumber enriched by the comforting cadence of lessons learned and lives glimpsed across the hallowed hallways of history. Now our journey brings us to the serene yet enigmatic shores of Bavaria, where the story of King Ludwig II and his watery demise in the still and reflective surface of a lake sets the stage. As daylight recedes, immerse yourself in the symphony of nature, echoing softly against the backdrop of royal intrigue and dreamlike castles amid the lush Bavarian landscape of the late 19th century. King Ludwig II of Bavaria, often referred to as the Mad King or the Fairy Tale King, was renowned for his passion for architecture, with his imagination manifesting into whimsical, almost fantastical castles decorated in elaborate splendour. This fervour for the ethereal and the dreamlike, over the pragmatic, placed him ever at odds with Bavaria's pragmatic political landscape, forging a legacy as tumultuous as it was intriguing. As the tale unfolds, Ludwig's reign is marked by personal and financial struggles, exacerbated by the king's singular vision, which often contradicted more diplomatic priorities. Amid these pressures, Ludwig retired frequently to his favourite retreat, Neuschwanstein Castle, a place where reality could melt into dream. The story of his end, however, commences under more mysterious circumstances. In June of 1886, mere days after a committee declared him mentally unfit to rule, Ludwig was found dead in the shallow waters of Lake Starnberg. He was accompanied to his murky fate by the body of his physician, Dr. Gudden, bizarrely entwined in the mysteries of a moonlit Bavarian night. The circumstances? They remain one of history's great enigmas. Was this a tragic mishap? A diabolical plot masked as an accident, or a calamitous embrace of desperation and escape? Historians still argue over whether evidence points towards conspiracy or tragic coincidence, a debate as shrouded in mist as the lake that cradled his end. Adding to the intrigue is an enduring, somewhat romanticised tidbit suggesting Ludwig may have intended to swim across the lake, perhaps in an unlikely bid for freedom, only to be swept away by fatigue or the conspiracies of those who deemed his fantastical expenditures a threat to Bavarian stability. Whichever the truth, Ludwig's story embodies a merging of reality with the spectral, the king, whose life and death were entangled with the castles he constructed, constructs of dreams that resonate with artistic majesty and melancholy. Reflect on the quiet elegance and the solemn ripples of this Bavarian enigma as you drift further into relaxation. Each whisper of wind across the lake's surface, akin to the gentle murmur of your comfort. In the depths of slumber, conjure the castles of imagination, and wonder where possibility bends reality's river flow. As night deepens, allow this narrative to gently guide you into the refuge of dreams, where fortresses of creative reverie and bucolic solace rise majestically, as intangible yet comforting as the monarch who conjured them into his kingdom of dreams. Here sleep awaits its royal guests, cloaked in the serene lull of history, where the waters of legend softly lap against the shores of consciousness. A lullaby befitting a king, and soothing for all who seek the gentle embrace of the night. Continuing onward through the shadows of history, let us cast our gaze toward yet another figure etched into the tapestry of royal misfortune, Crown Prince Frederick of Prussia. Here unfolds a tale where the aspirations of weightlifting and the limitations of flesh intersect, crafting a curious narrative in the pages of regal history. Traversed to 19th century Germany, a hub of evolving philosophies and burgeoning national identity, where the air buzzes with the fervour of innovation and imperial ambition. Crown Prince Frederick, an embodiment of his era's spirit, found vigour and vitality not only in statecraft, but also in the pursuit of athletic endeavours, embracing the growing culture of physical prowess. Young Frederick, heir to the Prussian throne, was keen on the strength and discipline found within the confines of airy gymnasiums. His affinity for physical exercise, namely weightlifting, was both a personal passion and a manifestation of his ideals, strength in leadership mirrored by strength of body. Yet, fate often jests with the certainty of youthful ambition. The story whispered amongst the annals tells of an incident where this passion took a heavy turn. During a session of vigorous lifting, Frederick reportedly sustained a severe injury, struggling under the weight meant to fortify but ultimately compromising his health. Historians still argue whether this injury directly led to the prince's later health issues, illnesses that would obfuscate his path to the crown, with relentless afflictions culminating in tuberculosis. This peculiar turn is painted not just with the tragedy of lost strength, but with the hues of irony that shade youthful resilience as easily into fragility. This misadventure prompted broader reflections on how regal pursuits intersected with the burgeoning fields of medicine and health. A reign cut short not merely through political machinations, but through unintended consequences of another realm. Frederick's story, while tinged with sadness, reminds us of the delicate balance between our aspirations and our limits. A quirky whisper of this tale might observe how the prince's love for strength inadvertently shaped the later health policies of the empire, underscoring the importance of regulated exercise, transforming private folly into public wisdom for future generations. Picture, if you will, the grace and discipline of a prince striving toward the ideal, and the gentle reminder that even ambition can waver under miscalculation. As evening drapes this tale in soft resonances, let these ruminations guide your heart and mind within, offering a tender wisdom tucked into the cosmos of your dreams. Softly entwined with the elegance of night, imagine the echoes of a barbell's lift in a twilight gymnasium, a prince's dreams aloft with the fervour of ambition, lit by hope and draped in the quiet glow of understanding. Relinquish yourself to the slumber prepared for you, a haven where strength complements repose, and dreams gently cradle the contemplation of life's ironic twists and fortuitous paths. In the refuge of sleep, let the stories and the gentle humour of history embrace you, carrying you deeper into the realm of rest, where the narratives blend with tranquility, nestling within the tender folds of the night. Here lies the beauty of history's gentle ironies, where each tale, woven softly, imparts a soothing lull, guiding you past the borders of wakefulness into the serene empire of dreams. As we traverse further through the ethereal corridors of historical oddities, this evening leads us to a rather curious chapter involving a supposed archducal mishap that spirals from a simple game to a grim conclusion. Our stage moves to Austria in the 19th century, where nobility and intellectual fervour stride hand in hand amidst the whispering elegance of the Viennese landscape. Picture a world filled with gilded parlours, echoing with the lingering notes of a waltz. Here lies Archduchess Matilda, a young woman of vibrant spirit. As a member of the distinguished Habsburg family, her life was painted with the hues of privilege and expectation, her days filled with the amusement and obligations befitting an archduchess. Yet often, fate finds ways to turn the mundane into the memorable. Matilda, said to be fond of the burgeoning hobby of jigsaw puzzles, a pastime capturing the fascination of the European elite, found a moment's distraction, turned tragically transformative. The narrative unfurls across a sunny garden where Matilda partook in this pastime, piecing together fragments of landscapes and portraits. Yet, according to anecdotal whispers, this innocuous pursuit, accompanied by threads of impracticality, a hasty oversight in safety, led to her catching fire when a breeze caught onto a thin wrapper she lit for warmth upon an autumn's chill, her woolen gown tragically acting as a wick. The details remain shrouded in a whisper of mystery. Historians still argue whether the Archduchess's untimely accident was interwoven with her love of puzzles or the spark of fate's unfortunate intervention. This regal flame became a solemn page in the Habsburg family's elaborate book, overlapping the simple pleasures with the cautionary tales offered by history. In this tragedy, there settles a quirky ode to unintended consequences, a near-forgotten pastime briefly stoking memories of whiling hours away as hours vanish into fleeting embers. Let the image of this gentle excess, from ludic lessons to empirical aftermaths, guide you deeper into the folds of reminiscence and reflection. Imagine the pastimes that echo softly, like hushed footsteps in galleries, lined with vibrant, half-completed mosaics. A reminder, perhaps, to cherish the moments and lessons they impart. A canvas incomplete yet full of life's colourful tapestry. Draw close now to the comfort of night's embrace as it beckons, resonating with the quiet pulse of history's soft hum. Within these realms of slumber, imagine puzzle pieces intertwined with serene dreams, where the spirit of curios extraordinaires calms the currents of your mind, soothing thoughts into restfulness. The wisps of history whisper by, enveloping you in their tender interplay, breathing life into the promise of repose. A lullaby seasoned with moments interwoven and delicately woven into the soft tapestry of the night. Here, dreams await with gentle symmetry, a realm of whispered tales and tranquil gratitude luring you ever further into the heart of sleep. As the moon casts its gentle glow, we shift our gaze to yet another puzzling tale of royal misadventure, enveloped in the quiet halls of the Greek monarchy. Our focus turns to Prince George of Greece, whose life brushed proximity with tragedy in the most modern of settings, the innovation of elevators. In the early 20th century, Greece was a nation afloat on the winds of change, blending classical heritage with new industrial strides. Amidst this transition walked Prince George, a dignitary of charm and duty, tasked with diplomacy and diffusing the strains of modernity. Yet it was not the weight of political intrigue that courted him closely, but rather an incident steeped in mechanical irony. Picture this, a bustling day at the royal palace, with the quiet hum of industry accompanying the elegance of polished marble and gilded frames. The prince, confident and assured, steps into one of the palace's newly installed inventions, a technological triumph designed to ease the laments of staircases and expedite the flow of regal routines. This instrument of convenience, however, wove itself into an unexpected narrative. Legend whispers that during one such descent the elevator stalled suddenly, its ropes and gears frozen between efficacy and malfunction. Prince George, encountering this hiccup of modernity, faced not merely an annoying delay, but a scenario spiralling with dread, as mechanized intentions held him briefly at the mercy of inertia. While some chronicles merely recount an intensified episode of palatial inconvenience, the precise details became obscured, a blend of modernization's unforeseen wrinkles and princely disparity. Historians still argue whether this event was exaggerated through retelling or a stark reminder of technology's unpredictability. This curious episode frames the friction between emerging technology and the timeless dance of humanity, a tale as old as progress itself, perpetually treading lightly between legacy and advance. A quirky sidebar to this incident concerns how it added to the growing discussions within Greek elite circles about safety standards and technological reliability, charting a future where innovation comes hand in hand with calculated caution. Reimagining the palace halls, where this tale gently unfurls, provides faint echoes of mechanisms whirring and clockwork ticking, invisible melodies of modernity mingling with the storied air. Let these refrains guide you as your thoughts meander, playfully weaving their way through this narrative of gentle absurdity. As you settle deeper into the embrace of evening, allow the sweet balance between expectancy and unpredictability to nestle into your dreams. Picture the upward and downward play of elevator rides, transforming into gentle tides that lull your mind into the soothing depths beneath. In the still whispers of night, where dreams merge with timelines unbounded, the quiet tick of narrative continues, guiding you softly past the barriers of wakefulness into the comfort of sleep, gently holding you in a realm where history and fable rest, recreated and complete. Here, amid the antiquity of thought, you find solace in mystery, a place where suspense yields to serenity, and whispers of yesterday lull your spirit into peace. As we tread softly further through the enchantment of royal narratives, our journey leads us to the captivating tale of King Aegimius and his peculiar encounter with a most unexpected adversary, the common ailment of hiccups. While details of King Aegimius's reign are scattered through mythology's tapestry, this tale embodies history's knack for turning the mundane into the legendary. Imagine a time steeped in the mystique of ancient myth, where kings ruled not only lands, but the very essence of cultural imagination. Aegimius, a figure of both folklore and governance within the Greek mythological framework, would find his end not under the weight of political strife or divine intervention, but through an unanticipated quirk of biology. According to the whimsical account passed down through the ages, one fateful evening during a grand feast held in honor of Aegimius's many accomplishments, the hall resonated with music and revelry, creating harmony within the dwellers of his kingdom. Amidst these celebratory echoes, however, the king began to experience a rather persistent bout of hiccups, one that would not permit his night to end peacefully. At first amusing, this episode turned perplexingly persistent, defying even the most well-attributed ancient remedies offered by those present. Not a single curative chant or herbal concoction could quell the hiccups' hold. The light-heartedness of this nuisance swiftly transformed into concern as nervous laughter shifted to wary eyes. Despite the unlikelihood of such an ailment yielding a fatal turn, the legend presses on with the sense of inevitable calamity. This mundane affliction is woven into a grand narrative where the king's health deteriorated beyond recovery, leaving the realm bereft of his leadership. Whether this curious ending stands within the confines of mythology rather than historical accuracy, historians still argue, adding a sense of playful enigma to an otherwise regally sombre denouement. Indeed, this peculiar ending offers humorous insight into how even imagined kingdoms are subject to the whims of the unpredictable. Life in its complexity distilled into the simplicity of a moment, played out with a laugh and a sigh. Interestingly, this fringe tale might serve as a metaphor for life's uncertainties, a reminder of how each breath we take, each hiccup endured, links us inextricably to both the grand and the trivial. So let your imagination follow the babbling stream of this amusingly poignant narrative, wherein the simple echo of a persistent spell reminds us of humanity's tender vulnerabilities, an invitation to embrace life's unpredictability with a smile drawn from ancient echoes. As evening's curtain draws itself gently across your thoughts, allow the memories of bygone feasts and age-old laughter to embrace you, soothingly leading you into a realm of dreamlike slumber. Let narratives of yesteryear whisper a lullaby, guiding you to a universe of rest, nurtured by the calming melodies of history. A place where sleep folds its arms around you like the soft pages of tales unfurled across the ages. In this tenderly woven space, fables and dreams mingle seamlessly, each soft thread carrying you further into the night, wrapping you in the hushed embrace of the past. A place where whimsical whispers of legends cradle you safely toward the dawn. Turning the page, our story now carries us into the graceful yet somber rhythm of Austrian legend, focusing our gaze upon the enigmatic tale of Archduchess Matilda. Here, amidst the grandeur and reverent tranquility of the 19th century Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Archduchess's fiery exit from the stage of life offers both a cautionary tale and a poignant whisper of irony. Envision the lavish expanse of a grand Vienna residence, its corridors lined with elegance and echoes of waltz tunes spun from gilded halls where the Habsburg family danced through history. Matilda, a young woman of charm and noble blood, was draped in the prestige of royal life, though her heart was said to hold moments of youthful rebellion. The tale proceeds under a canopy of Viennese sophistication, unfolding amidst the idyls of an afternoon, portrayed with the light-hearted exuberance of young royalty. Yet a single moment of oversight would transform pathways of privilege into trails of tragedy. Recorded amidst the quiet laments of historical anecdote, the Archduchess had taken up smoking, a pastime discreetly ensconced within the private gardens of the palace. On a fateful June afternoon, as Matilda sought solitude from duty's persistence, the flicker of a mischievous flame danced perilously close to the hem of her delicate gown. Here, with the whimsicality of fortune and the unyielding breath of chance, the flame caught, spreading rapidly across the fine fabric. Attempts to extinguish this conflagration were delayed by the constraining nature of the layered attire, and the initial disbelief of the spectators. A sad and preventable collision between candle and silk. The poignant tragedy whispered now through history is a stark reminder of how youthful indiscretions can metamorphose into heart-rending outcomes. Historians still argue whether it was the neglect of caution, ascribed culpably to caprice, or happenstance that fanned this moment into permanence within the annals of the Habsburg saga. A quirky afterthought presents how the rapidly sobering story spurred the court's contemplation of sartorial safety, an unusual yet contextually crucial evolution, prompted by layers of sad remembrance, thereby ensuring safety stitched into the cloth of future generations. In pondering this moment, we reflect upon the elegant dance of life and the gentle reminder that destiny's threads interlace through predictable and fanciful alike. As twilight envelopes this narrative, weave dreams rich with thoughts, as vibrant and multifaceted as the garments etched in memory. Each story a stitch in the elaborate quilt of existence. With eyes gently closing, rest now upon a bed of softly woven tales as night cradles your spirit. Listen to the subtle echo of history's lessons, each note tenderly reminding us of life's precious vulnerability and strength. Let slumber whisper softly to you. A world safe beneath deep night, where stories and dreams convene, and the embrace of sleep welcomes you into its timeless refuge. As we continue our nighttime journey through the labyrinthine corridors of historical curiosity, we find ourselves entwined with the tale of a Greek prince, suspended between reality and the improvisations of fate. Let us now turn our focus to the story of Prince George of Greece and his inexplicable elevator mishap, which intertwines modern innovation with royal misfortune. Imagine early 20th century Greece, a nation on the cusp of modernity, where the ancient mingles with the contemporary, and the halls of the royal palace echo with the footsteps of shifting eras. Within these stately walls Prince George treads, a figure of nobility poised within the dynamic tapestry of his country's burgeoning identity and history. On a seemingly ordinary day, Prince George found himself amid the modern marvels of the era, machines that promised to elevate not just physical distances but societal progress. Among these inventions was the elevator, a device that bridged palatial floors with the ease of gravity's grace-defied. Yet, fate has its peculiar rhythm, a cadence not easily swayed by the promises of progress. As the tale unfolds, Prince George enters the elevator, perhaps preoccupied with courtly duties or trivial musings. As the machine begins its ascent or descent, historians still argue over which the unexpected occurs. The lift stalls abruptly, trapping the prince in a vertical limbo. Mechanical malfunctions, it seems, are no respecters of rank or position. Caught in this momentary suspension, the prince confronts not the life-altering peril one might expect, but a comical predicament. A prince rendered briefly by machinery, his only adversary, the unyielding stare of ornate walls. In the palace's cavernous hush, a sigh of relief breezes through, once the fault is remedied, leaving its participants with little more than a story of resilience and patience to carry back to dinner. This anecdote, wrapped in the quirk of history, highlights the intersection between innovation and caprice, the reminder that even great advancements are subject to the vagaries of chance. It echoes an awareness shared among the elite. Progress may forever strive to perfect, yet surprise lays in wait at every junction. As the prince continued his day, perhaps with an air of bemused dignity, reflections stirred in the broader courtly circles. Debates on ensuring machinery's reliability against time's nimble hand, reinforcing future blueprints with greater assurances of safety. In pondering this narrative, let yourself be gently swept into the scene, imagining the stillness of an elevator, held against the insistence of forward momentum. Hear now the gentle whir of gears and mechanisms, their syncopated rhythm promising passage yet pausing, as if to contemplate their next logical step amidst the backdrop of regal expectation. As you surrender your senses to the embrace of night, let this tale of mechanical whimsy guide you, softly cradling you deeper into the arms of slumber. Envision yourself a passenger on the voyage of dreams, where the ascent and descent of your own thoughts mirror the timeless dance of innovation and intrigue. Here, in the whispered solace of evening, sleep claims you gently and wholly, wrapped in history's affectionate cocoon. A place where dreams ascend through the corridors of imagination, ever upward into the quietude of a starry eternity. In the hushed depths of the night, we arrive at the final chapter of our journey through history's quirkiest royal departures. Our imagination sails to the court of a notable king, as stories of past and present entwine with the soft-spoken legacy they leave behind. Before we part ways with these tales, we dive into the intriguing life of Archduchess Matilda, whose fiery demise delicately echoes both the mirth and melancholy of life's delicate thread. Imagine the royal court, a place where echoes of opulent banquets and courtly conversations blend with the soft rustle of tapestry, a stage painted with the brush of exquisite elegance and unforeseen calamities. As Archduchess Matilda navigated this world of pearls and politics, she unwittingly inscribed her name into the annals of history, a whisper within the grand cacophony of aristocracy. On a fateful evening, a decision born of youthful impetuousness and societal rituals, smoking discreetly away from the constraints of watchful eyes, set the stage for an accident that transformed a moment into eternity. Her dress, heavy with grandeur and woven with combustible threads, became the insidious actor in this tragedy. The flames engulfed her quickly, turning a quiet indulgence into a flash of turmoil. This heart-wrenching scene serves as a poignant epitaph, echoing through time, shaping rules and societal perceptions about safety and the precariousness of unchecked indulgence. Historically, this tale has lingered within those same courtly walls as both somber lesson and whimsical footnote. It highlights the irony embedded within the most profound of one's choices, the intersection of splendor and peril. As we draw our stories to a close, allow these narratives to dissolve gently into the boundaries of sleep. With tales woven through every whispered corner of history, they soothe as much as they intrigue. Feel the calm descent, like feathers falling, each gently brushing past the heart of memory and imagination. The courtly dances of kings and queens fade now into silhouettes against the lush curtain of time. As these stories slip into the refuge of night's embrace, let your breath slow to match the softness of the dark, where sleep is an eager companion to your weary yet contented thoughts. In this space, as you nestle beneath the tender weight of slumber, Reminisce about the gentle absurdities that bind us all in lifelines as old as time. History wraps itself tenderly around you, lullaby soft, beckoning a serene journey into dreams both whimsical and profound. Rest easy beneath the canopy of stars, where every narrative becomes a soothing melody, luring you into that delightful sanctuary where imagination finds rest. Each story carries you further, softly drowning the conscious world as night sings its quiet song of peace and memory, a timeless slumber for a deeply dreaming soul. Greater than, greater than, greater than, greater than. End of script. Sweet dreams.